One of the craziest things that stands out to me with the performance of this goal pad is the sliding ability. As you can see, these pads just have weave on them. They do not have any fancy material like a Core-Tec, a Speed Skin, an OptiSlide. And unfortunately, without having a lab to do head-to-head testing, I cannot say they are the fastest pad, but I will say I do not feel like you are giving up anything and sliding much slower than you would in like a Brian's pad or a Bauer pad, which literally blows my mind. And it's just gotta be the shape of the wraps, how well everything's assembled, and how firm this sliding edge is. But I have to admit, when these pads came in the mail, the first thing I did was try them with the Warrior slide plates and the PPF film, because I just assumed without having any tech, these pads might slide a little bit slow. And my mind was blown. I love technology, and I would still love to see True try some material, because maybe if the shape and the foams are what gives them the speed, if they had a more high-tech material, you might be able to go even faster. But at the end of the day, it really highlights how True's approach to designing gear comes straight from pro client feedback and like 50 years of doing gear, that there's still some sort of like utilitarian, just straight feedback and intuition ways of designing gear without all of the high tech stuff that we see coming from a lot of the other competitors. So I can say first and foremost, these are solid pads, but like this is the thing that blew me away. I really expected that these were going to slide slow, and I would go so far as to call them fast, which I wish I could technically explain it to you like I can with some of the other gear, point at the materials. It's just like the combination of the parts. There's truly a synergy, and there's not one unique thing to point to with the inner edge, but it works phenomenally. Next thing to talk about on these pads is the seal. So the Catalyst PX is actually going to be a stiffer goal pad than the 12.2, which if we look at the marketing literature, kind of makes no sense. Generally speaking, a pad with knee rolls is considered the soft pad. A pad without knee rolls is considered the stiff pad. But basically what True did was they stiffened up the thigh rise, because basically every NHL goalie wants a stiff thigh rise so that you don't get squeakers through it. And it makes the seal on this pad absolutely phenomenal. And also this little notch that is cut out in the top of the pads to reduce a little bit of weight and also give you some more clearance around your pants and everything coming in and out of the butterfly. It's just a really subtle tweak, but I can say the other most surprising thing to me about this pad, or actually I shouldn't say it's surprising, the sliding I didn't really expect. But like I knew a True pad was gonna have a good seal and just feel great on your leg. But I can say this pad never over or under rotated during my use. And it's just this sort of amazing thing. The pad just, every time I wanna use this pad, it is in exactly the right place where it needs to be to make a save. And I also think that some of the other pads on the market, which have more technology in them, might cater a little bit to goalies that maybe aren't as good, as harsh as that might sound. But you can really tell wearing this gear why True is probably the most popular, or up there for the most popular brands in the NHL. And it's because if you have good technique and you know how to do some subtle things like kick rebounds out, as opposed to relying on the pad technology to kick the rebound out for you, there really aren't any like huge low points on this pad. It slides well, the seal is good. We'll get into the strapping in just a second. But there isn't really anything to point to on this pad that's a huge flaw. And like I say, if you're a little bit of a lower skilled goalie, I don't know if you will like this pad as much as I do. And I'm not saying I'm a stud at all. I'm not, but you know, I have enough technique. You know, I played a decent enough level where I'm not a complete sieve in there either. But maybe if you're a recreational goalie, this is where I'm saying maybe it's not the pad for you, but anybody that has some good experience under their belt and has proper technique, I think you're gonna absolutely love these pads. As we dive a layer deeper with the FRS system, it is pretty perfect as well. So if you want to adjust the top or the bottom looser or tighter, you have the elastic here where you can adjust it. But then the great thing is your Velcro's over here. So when it comes to game skate after game skate, there's only a tiny piece of elastic there, or Velcro there for your elastic. and a tiny piece of Velcro there for your elastic. And why this is important, I've mentioned this before, but a lot of pads have so much Velcro, I can almost find it cumbersome where skate after skate, it's almost impossible to put your pad on a repeatable way. So sometimes it could feel a touch too loose. Sometimes it could feel a touch too tight. And with old school leather straps, you never had that problem because you could put it on the same strap hole every time. But this design is amazing because you have all the flexibility you need with the elastic there. So you can try it looser back there or tighter. And then once you have it dialed in, you only have one point of Velcro. So it's super quick to put on in the locker room. And then it's super consistent. So the pad is going to feel the same skate after skate, which again, as I mentioned, Lefebvre is all about catering to the NHL goalies and then taking their feedback as a product that people are going to want to try in the store. Having something that is repeatable set after set is one of the most sought after things of a pro goalie. So again, it's going to have the reinforced thigh rise where, you know, every goalie wants a stiff thigh rise there. And it's going to be incredibly repeatable between True's nice quality control system that they have building and assembling the gear. And then the way the strapping, you know, there's enough adjustability where you need it, but it's going to repeat every single time you put it on. So you know you're going to get consistency and you can trust that your pad is going to perform the same every single skate. What up, world? This is the GoalNet recording live here from outside Chicago. And today we are ready to do the performance review on the Catalyst PX pad. This is skinned as an L87, and if you're not familiar with it, the Catalyst PX is the update to the 12.2 line. So as far as like the knee block goes, this is where a lot of brands, most notably Bauer and CCM, are putting a lot of technology into stiffening the knee block to increase the seal, and I'd also say the energy transfer, so you don't have too much mobility there. You know, and there's different versions where, you know, in some of the pads you get a little bit and some you get none. Basically, Lefebvre started sewing all of these pieces in, and it gives it some rigidity combined with the nylon strap. So you can still really feel the pad traditionally, but if you notice, it bends this way, and then it doesn't really bend that way. So this is kind of the natural way you would want a pad to move if you wanted to. And this is where you can get over rotation or fall off the knee block. And it doesn't really give much in the direction you don't want it to move. And then it moves in the direction if you want a softer, more traditional feeling pad that it gives. And then also by having this be nylon, it sort of acts almost as like a parachute or like a safety net. And it only lets the pad flex so much versus almost everybody else's elastic here. And again, to my point about like the sliding earlier, everything on this pad is subtle. And I feel like if you just look at this pad in the store and compare it to some of the other pads on the market, you think, there's nothing that like exciting or that groundbreaking with it. And I would sort of agree, there maybe aren't any bleeding edge market first. You know, they stiffen this thigh rise, where I mentioned with the notch, there's a composite piece in here to give us the thigh rise stiffness. But again, all of these pieces just work unbelievably well together. Subtle feature as well, you know, I always put pro laces on my pads. That can be, you know, an add-on option for many other goalies. They come standard on the Lefebvre pads. And as we know, pro laces are definitively the best toe ties going. So sneaky perk, you're getting these for free included in your pads. So in summary, the True PX pad is its pad that would compete with things like the E-Flex, the Bauer Hyperlight, the Vaughn Velocity. But this is a very stiff pad. So if you want a soft pad, I would order these custom and get everything as soft as you can in terms of brakes. But if you're just looking for a pad that performs perfectly and you're not really stuck on if it needs to be soft or flexible, you just want it to sort of flex where it needs to flex and be stiff where you want it to be stiff, the stock PX is great. As I mentioned, if you're a recreational or a novice goalie, I'd say maybe this isn't the pad for you, but if you have great technical training or even you're any form of elite goalie, and I think you're gonna benefit for these. Using a golf analogy, this is a bit more like a forged blade or like a torque cavity back. It is not like a filled iron like the PXGs or the P790s for anybody that follows golf. If you golf, you will completely get this analogy and understand what I'm saying. But like I say, this pad blew my mind. I used the True 20.1s. I didn't love them. I thought they were too soft. I kind of didn't understand some of the hype around it, but this PX pad blew my mind and way exceeded my expectations. And like I said, there's nothing really exciting I can point to in terms of like, hey, look at this crazy new, contraption with the strapping or with the skin. But like I say, the pad is just in perfect position every time. I almost don't know I'm wearing a goalie pad in a complimentary way. The pad is super stiff up top, so you're never gonna get any 5-hole squeakers. It is in perfect butterfly seal every time. It doesn't over rotate, it doesn't under rotate, and somehow it slides really fast. And again, I'm not trying to be a jerk when I say somehow. I just would love to technically point it out to you in the video, and I can't do it. And it all comes back to the summary of the parts and the great history that True has with building gears, what comes together to make something that is such a synergy of all of the pro goalie feedback and the craftsmanship. So what don't I like? Really, the only knock I have on this pad is, as much as I just said, it slides amazingly without some, crazy high-tech thing I can point to. In a future generation of pads, I would love to see True put something in the face of the pad to give it an even hotter rebound. The rebounds are solid. And like I say, if you have good technique where you're kicking the rebounds, they really go. But it's not sort of on autopilot like some other gear. And I do feel like that is maybe the one hole in this pad. So if you're good with the traditional rebound, this is a home run. And then hopefully maybe in future iterations, we could see True, put some other foams in this area to give the pad an even harder rebound. But again, if you like a soft pad, you like a stiff pad, I can see this appealing to so many different types of goalies. You should definitely check out the True Catalyst PX pad. This is the GoalNet signing out. And then the last thing to cover before we close this video is the boot flex. So you can see I ordered a soft boot, so really good boot flex. And then if we come up to the thigh rise, I am putting all my weight on this and it barely budges. So where you want the flex in the pad so you can feel it move with your skate or in and out of the RVH, it has it. And then with this reinforced thigh rise, this is literally as stiff as any pad on the market. Couple other quick things to note is traditionally you're going to get more of a 90-degree boot so that the boot will come straight across versus mine is down and open here. This is a custom style boot, which is now an option in the customizer, so it's not stock in the PX, but with True phasing out the 4.1 or the Premier style pad, gonna leave a gap for a lot of goalies that like the pad to sit higher off the skate boot, or when you go to the butterfly, you want the rebounds to kick out away from you as opposed to up like that. So when the boot is more square, the rebound's gonna go that way. With this open boot, when you're in the butterfly, it's gonna organically kick the puck into the corner. And then because it sits like this, it floats off your skate. So I love the open boot. I know generally speaking, most goalies like a closed, the 90-degree boot, but love to see that True saved that option and put it in the customizer. And one other note is that standard pads will have a break there. I ordered mine without them.